In a small town, Maria faces the harsh reality of a life of poverty. Every day, she wakes up before dawn, hoping to find some work that will allow her to support her two young children, Pedro and Ana. Her shack is simple, made of wooden planks and old tiles, but it's the only home they have. Money is always scarce, and each day is a struggle to put food on the table. That morning, Maria puts on her simple and worn clothes, grabs the small bag with her savings, and heads to the local bakery. The smell of fresh bread and coffee is comforting but also painful, as it reminds Maria of everything her children don't have. In the bakery line, she observes the growing tension in front of her. An elderly lady, with worn clothes and a worried look, is trying to buy a sandwich. The old lady is thin, with disheveled white hair and trembling hands. Her face is marked by time and life's difficulties. The lady pulls out some coins from her worn wallet, but when she counts the money, she realizes it's not enough. Her eyes reflect desperation and shame. She looks at the bakery clerk, a young woman with a face hardened by indifference. The clerk, with a disdainful look, crosses her arms and says in a cold and impatient tone, "That's not enough. I can't give you the sandwich." The lady tries to explain, in a trembling voice, that she forgot the rest of the money at home, but the clerk shows no compassion. "I already said no," she repeats, now louder. The customers in the bakery start to look, curious and uncomfortable with the scene. Some whisper to each other, while others just watch in silence. The humiliation is palpable, and the lady, not knowing what to do, stands still, with tears forming in her eyes. The bakery security guard, a large man with a severe expression, approaches. Without any consideration, he grabs the lady's arm and drags her out of the store, ignoring her pleas for help and apologies. The lady stumbles, almost falling, as she tries to keep up with the security guard's hurried pace. The sight of that scene makes Maria's heart ache. She feels a wave of empathy and sadness. Maria knows what it's like to need and not have. She knows what it's like to be treated with indifference. With the little money she has, Maria had planned to buy bread for her children and one for herself. However, seeing the lady in trouble, she decides to sacrifice the bread she would buy for herself and instead asks for a sandwich for the lady. The clerk, still in a bad mood, hands her the order without saying a word. Maria pays and leaves the bakery, determined to find the lady. Outside, the lady is sitting on a bench, with her head down, her shoulders trembling with sobs. She looks so fragile and helpless that Maria feels a lump in her throat. Slowly, Maria approaches and, in a gentle voice, calls the lady's attention. "Excuse me, ma'am." "Here is the sandwich," Maria says, extending the package. The lady looks up, surprised and with tears still in her eyes. She takes the sandwich with trembling hands and looks at Maria with a gratitude that cannot be expressed in words. Thank you very much," she murmurs, as tears roll down her wrinkled face. Maria just smiles, trying to offer a bit of comfort. She sits next to the lady and spends a few minutes talking, trying to give her some dignity and humanity. While they talk, a car stops in front of the bakery. A man, visibly relieved, gets out of the car and runs towards the lady. "Ma'am, I finally found you. We were all very worried," he says with a sigh of relief. He thanks Maria for her help and leads the lady to the car. Before getting in, the lady says goodbye to Maria with a grateful smile. Maria watches the car drive away, feeling a mix of satisfaction and sadness. She knows she did the right thing, even if it means sacrificing her own well-being. With the bread for her children in hand, she returns home, where Pedro and Ana await her eagerly. They may not have much, but they have the love and kindness that Maria always offers, even in the most difficult circumstances. Days pass, and Maria's situation becomes even more difficult. The coins that once jingled in the small purse are now non-existent, and the occasional work that provided her with a small income hasn't called her in days. Maria used to do small cleaning and sewing jobs for her neighbors, but lately, the opportunities have dried up. Desperation begins to settle in her mind. Each day feels like an endless battle against hunger and need. Her children, Pedro and Ana, are too young to fully understand the situation, but the pain of hunger is impossible to ignore. Pedro, at 6 years old, tries to be brave and hide his discomfort, but Maria sees the weakness in his eyes. Ana, only 4 years old, cries from hunger, clutching her empty stomach, her crying becoming a constant and exhausting sound in the small house. Maria feels her heart break every time she looks at her children's pale and thin faces. She tries to console them, telling stories of better times, but the words are starting to sound empty even to her. Each day, hope becomes a little harder to hold on to. On a particularly difficult night, the situation reaches a new point of despair. The darkness seems denser, and the air is heavy with sadness. Maria sits at the kitchen table, trying to think of a solution. The small kitchen is practically empty. The shelves that once held basic provisions are now devoid of any sustenance. With trembling hands, Maria opens the cupboard once more, knowing there's nothing inside, yet still hoping to find some hidden miracle. All that remains is a small amount of flour, a little water, and a few grains of rice. She takes the ingredients and tries to prepare something, anything, to soothe her children's growling stomachs. Pedro and Ana are sitting on the floor in the living room, hugging each other, their stomachs aching with hunger. Maria tries to hold back her tears as she mixes the flour with water, creating a thin dough. She places the dough in an old frying pan, hoping that the few grains of rice will help make something more substantial. The faint smell of the dough cooking fills the air, but it's not enough to mask the scent of hunger. Pedro and Anna's eyes light up momentarily as they see Maria approaching with what she has prepared. She divides the small meal between them, giving the larger portion to her children and keeping only a small bit for herself. Each bite feels like both a gift and a torture, knowing it won't be enough to satisfy their hunger. As the children eat in silence, Maria withdraws to the corner of the kitchen. There, in the darkness, she finally allows the tears to fall. The pain and despair that she kept hidden throughout the day flow freely. She cries for the hunger, for the helplessness, and for the relentless struggle that seems never-ending. But even in the midst of despair, a small flame of hope still burns in her heart. She knows she must keep fighting, for Pedro and Ana, and for herself. Tomorrow is a new day, and maybe, just maybe, it will bring a new opportunity. Then, an unexpected sound of knocking at the door breaks the oppressive silence of the small house. Maria, who was sitting in a corner, trying to contain her tears, quickly raises her head. The knocks are firm and insistent, a stark contrast to the anguishing quiet that filled the room moments before. She rises slowly, her heart pounding, uncertainty and curiosity taking over. Pedro and Ana, her children, watch her with wide eyes, hunger and fear reflected in their expressions. Maria walks to the door, each step heavy with doubt about what could be waiting on the other side. As she opens the door, Maria is met with an entirely unexpected sight. An elegant man, impeccably dressed in a well-tailored suit, stands before her. His face is serious, but there is a kindness in his eyes. Behind him, a luxurious car is parked, gleaming under the dim streetlights. The contrast between the refined appearance of the man and Maria's humble dwelling couldn't be more pronounced. "Good evening," he says, in a deep and calm voice that conveys natural authority. "My name is Daniel." He pauses, studying Maria's confused expression before continuing. "I have been looking for you for days." Maria frowns, confusion and worry mingling in her gaze. "Looking for me?" she asks, her voice low and hesitant, unsure of what to expect. Daniel offers a small reassuring smile, sensing Maria's nervousness. "Yes. My mother suffers from memory problems and a few days ago, she wandered off and went to the bakery. There, she wanted to buy a sandwich but forgot the money. A very kind woman helped her at that moment, buying the sandwich for her." The memory of the elderly lady at the bakery immediately comes to Maria's mind. "Oh, I remember," she says softly. "I helped her with the sandwich." Daniel's eyes light up with confirmation. "Yes, exactly. My mother came home very grateful and moved by your gesture. She couldn't stop talking about how kind you were and how you helped her in a moment of need. Since then, I decided to find you to express my gratitude personally." Maria is speechless for a moment, absorbing the seriousness and sincerity of Daniel's words. "I just did what I thought was right," she says, still trying to process the unexpected situation. Maria, still perplexed, listens intently to what Daniel has to say. He moves slightly to the side, revealing more details of the luxurious car parked in front of her house. Daniel looks at Maria, his eyes sincere and kind. "I wanted to explain how I found you," he begins. "After my mother returned home, she was so emotional and grateful for what you did for her. She couldn't stop talking about the kind woman who helped her at the bakery. She mentioned that despite all the hardships, you didn't hesitate to help her." Maria, still in shock by Daniel's unexpected presence at her door, feels a wave of confusing emotions as she listens to his words. The air around her seems to vibrate with the intensity of the moment, every detail of the situation imprinting itself in her memory. The soft sound of leaves rustling in the wind and the distant murmur of the city seem to amplify as she struggles to fully comprehend what is being said. Daniel takes a deep breath, his eyes fixed on Maria's, conveying a sincerity and urgency that make her feel an instant connection to him. "My mother suffers from memory problems," he begins, his voice tinged with a mix of sadness and determination. Maria notices a slight tremor in his voice, an indication of how difficult this must be for him. She often gets lost or forgets important things. Daniel's words evoke a vivid image in Maria's mind, the elderly lady at the bakery, with her worn clothes and lost look, trying in vain to find the money she didn't have. She remembers the exact moment she decided to help, compassion overcoming her own needs. Now, standing before her was this woman's son, someone deeply touched by her gesture. When she told me about you, Daniel continues, emotion clear in his eyes, she was so moved. She said a very kind woman helped her, buying a sandwich when she needed it most. She couldn't stop talking about your kindness and generosity. Maria feels a warmth spreading through her chest, a mix of surprise and gratitude. The lump in her throat tightens as she absorbs the meaning of Daniel's words. He pauses, as if choosing his next words carefully. I knew I had to find this person who did something so incredible for her, he says finally, his voice firm and full of determination. Daniel's dedication and love for his mother are palpable, and Maria feels a deep connection with him, a mutual understanding of the importance of family and the impact of small acts of kindness. The tears she has been holding back finally escape, rolling silently down her face as she nods, speechless but feeling immense gratitude for being at the center of such a moving story. Daniel, noticing Maria's emotion, steps forward, extending his hand as a gesture of comfort and solidarity. You did something extraordinary for my mother, he says softly. And I want you to know that your kindness did not go unnoticed. I am here to thank you and to ensure that you receive the support you deserve. Maria, with her heart racing and emotions running high, feels a new hope blossoming within her. Daniel's words echo in her mind, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, kindness and compassion can create powerful connections and change lives in unimaginable ways. He pauses, observing Maria. I went to the bakery and asked the employees if anyone remembered a woman helping an elderly lady. Initially, no one could recall the details precisely. But fortunately, a market employee who knows your situation recognized the story. She told me how you, despite going through extreme difficulties, helped my mother. Maria feels tears welling up as she listens to the story. She remembers the bakery employee, a young and friendly woman who always served her with a smile. It was comforting to know that someone had noticed her gesture and understood her own struggles. I asked to see the security camera footage, Daniel continues. That's how I got your description and found your home. The employee was very helpful in assisting me in locating you. And it was then that I decided I couldn't just thank you verbally. I wanted to do something more concrete. Daniel gestures towards the trunk of the car, which is full of shopping bags. I went to the market and bought enough food for you and your children for the entire month. I know this doesn't solve all your problems, but I hope it helps ease some of the pressure. Maria feels a wave of emotions washing over her, relief, gratitude, and a profound sense of being seen and valued. I don't know how to thank you, she says, her voice choked with emotion. This means so much to me and my children. Daniel smiles but shakes his head. You have already done so much for my mother. What you did for her goes beyond any thanks. And please, don't think this is all I can do. I want to help even more." Daniel looks at Maria with an expression of sincerity and determination. "I have something more to offer you," he begins, his voice calm but full of purpose. Maria, still absorbing what she had just heard about Daniel's generosity in bringing food for her family, fixes her eyes on him, eager to know more. "I am the owner of a clothing company," Daniel explains. "We have several stores that sell clothes and accessories, and we always need skilled hands to make repairs and adjustments to the pieces. It's work that can be done from home, with the right infrastructure." Maria listens intently, feeling a mix of hope and anxiety growing inside her. The idea of a stable job seems almost unbelievable, something she had wished for so long but always seemed out of reach. Daniel continues, noticing the emotion in Maria's eyes. "I would like to offer you a job as a seamstress," he says, smiling softly. "You can work from home, which means you can take care of your children at the same time. There will be no need to worry about transportation or strict schedules. You can set your own pace, as long as the work gets done." Maria feels the tears starting to form again. She had spent so many sleepless nights, worried about her children's future, not knowing how to ensure they had food to eat the next day. Now, before her, was an opportunity that could change everything. "This is incredible," Maria whispers, her voice choked with emotion. "I don't know how to thank you. This job means more than you can imagine." Daniel smiles and shakes his head. "You don't need to thank me. You already did something wonderful for my mother, and I'm happy to be able to give back in some way. Besides, I know you will do an excellent job. I have full confidence in your abilities." Maria feels a wave of gratitude and relief wash over her. "I accept," she says, tears streaming down her face. "I accept with all my heart. Thank you, truly." From that moment, Maria's life begins to change for the better. With the new job and enough food for a month, she starts to see a light at the end of the tunnel. The days of despair and uncertainty give way to a new sense of purpose and hope. She works diligently, taking every opportunity to improve her skills and ensure the work meets Daniel's expectations. Her children, Pedro and Ana, also begin to feel the difference. They start having regular meals, and the house fills with a new spirit of optimism and security. Maria can spend more time with them, helping with homework and playing together, something that once seemed like a distant luxury. While working, Maria often thinks of the lady she helped at the bakery and how that simple act of kindness set off a chain of events that transformed her life. She remembers Daniel's words and the look of gratitude on his and his mother's faces. This memory inspires her to keep going, to face challenges with courage, and to cherish every small victory. Maria feels immense gratitude for Daniel and everything he has done for her and her children. The generosity of a stranger not only brought them immediate relief but also opened up new opportunities for a better future. She knows life will still have its challenges, but now, with a stable job and the support of someone who believes in her, Maria faces the future with renewed courage and determination. The small, humble house, once filled with worries and uncertainties, is now a place filled with laughter and hope. Maria understands that despite the difficulties, there is kindness in the world and that a simple act of generosity can transform lives in amazing ways. And with this conviction, she continues to live each day with gratitude and a heart full of hope.